Well, Max has decided he's going to jump in because here's a coach that has won 5 state championships in his career, over 700 victories, and he'll be the last person to tell you about that. Welcoming in Michael Kane from Dripping Springs. Got to know you over the years and really enjoy your company. I love talking volleyball with you. Welcome in, and it's always great to visit with you, man.
Well, likewise, and I appreciate you you entertaining me and feeling value in anything that I might have to say. So I appreciate it.
Well, apparently enough, Max wanted to join in too to hear what you had to say this
There
time
you go.
around.
Good.
And I'll tell you,
My fan club's getting bigger by a dog, so I'm good.
you know, the coaches I've interviewed so far, I've stayed away from bringing up seniors that have graduated, but once in a generation, once in a lifetime type player, Avery Kalsu. It'll be so weird to not see Avery on the court for you this coming year.
There's no question. I mean, this is a kid that's played 4 years and started for 4 years and certainly left her mark on not only my program but the community. She's left her mark, and I mean, she's obviously not just a volleyball player. For many people may or may not know, she's also a outstanding track person, and so and left her mark. You know, making to the state track meet. I was sad to see the track season get away from her, unfortunately, this year, because she did a tremendous job of being one of our fearless leaders this past season. You know, we fell out a little short of our goal, but she's been a mainstay in the program, and you know, she's certainly not somebody that you can replace. You know, and that being said, I feel great about the team coming back, and feel good about kids that are going to be playing that position. I feel like they'll be able to handle it. They won't be Avery, you know, but Avery was also one of 2 setters I had that I left, that we graduated. Sarah Nadine is at Abilene Christian as well, and she was a setter on her own right. So, you know, you don't replace those 2. You hope that the younger kids and the experience they've gotten behind them are going to do their due diligence and have been doing their due diligence. Of course, with the COVID thing, you got to hold your breath even more. So we'll see. I think these kids are going to be up to the task. They've got tremendous firepower from all angles and from both pins and the middle to the set too. And I think it's going to make the new setters' jobs a lot easier than maybe Avery or Sarah ever had it. So I'm excited about it.
Well, if they can make it any easier, wow. I mean, because again, that's a lot of talent you're replacing. But I mean, you look at you were nice enough. You've always been a great helper for us to provide information. Maddie Lund, Annabelle Crowder, Nicole Herbert, Lauren Pica, Carly Sledge among the returners. And I mean, anybody, especially here in Austin, I'm in Austin, and of course, you're Dripping Springs. Anybody here in the Central Texas area that follows volleyball knows those names. Every one of those names, everybody knows.
For sure. And, you know, you add on to that group, I don't get a lot of transfers in my career. I think I could count on my hand in 23 years of coaching on one hand the amount of transfers. And I don't know that, you know, we've had and it's probably less than 5, honestly. And but we got one this year. She transferred in January. Mackenzie Palante was a stud. She'll be a sophomore, but she was a stud at Lake Travis. Started on their varsity team, was one of their stud outsides, and adding her to the mix of all that talent again. And you know, we talked about that just 2 seconds ago in regards to like the firepower that we have. That's a lot of talent. Maddie Lund is touching over 10 feet now, and AB, Annabelle Crowder, and Carly Sledge, and now you throw in a Mackenzie Palante type, and that's just a lot of talent that these setters are going to have to get. So I think our hitters are going to help our setters and make them look a lot better. So,
well, I'll tell you what, you're going to need every single drop of talent you can. The new district, 26-5A. Wow.
Yes,
New Braunfels Canyon coming in from 6A. Alamo Heights, of course, there's, you know, I'll let you tell that story from last year's playoffs. Kerrville, Tybee, Bernie Champion, Johnson out of Buda, Lehman, San Antonio Veteran Memorial, and of course Seguin. That is a nasty district right there.
It is, and it's not something we're unfamiliar to. Obviously, the last 2 years we've been in the ASD district, which you know, is just not at the level of a lot of these other districts. But prior to that, we were in that district with Champion and Heights and Seguin and Kerrville, Tybee, and so we're familiar with those those programs as well. And so we've been in difficult districts before those schools. We were in the district with
Right.
Cedar Park and Vista Ridge and Rouse. And so we've been accustomed to being in really tough districts, being in the last 2 years districts that I don't know that are on that level. I'm trying to be very politically correct about it. The reality is they weren't. And now going back to, we're excited. I mean, our success has been long and storied, and it wasn't just because we were in a weak district. We've been in those districts with those teams. We know what we're looking up for, and then you drop in a familiar foe for us. New Braunfels Canyon has been one of the most successful 6A programs or volleyball programs, period, in the Central Texas area for forever. And Heather Sanders and I are great friends, and we've been on the schedule regardless. So
Right.
we know what we're getting into. I know that every night is going to be an exciting evening. Coach Shelly Jones is over at Buda Johnson, and they're a young group of players, a very new high school, and she's going to do a great job with those teams. And so again, it's going to be scary. Unfortunately, there's going to be some really good teams not making the playoffs, and that's just unfortunately the nature of the beast. I think the depth is deeper. Adding the Canyon and then adding Johnson, quite honestly, the depth of this district is going to be the deepest that I've experienced forever.
Yeah, we're probably going to be down to, when you get to 2 matches left in district, you probably got 3 or 4 teams battling for the last 2 playoff spots, some kind of scenario like that.
No, for sure. I mean, you can pick one of any 3 or 4 teams to say that you could argue that they could win the district, whether it be, and I'm not going to go into them giving everybody bulletin board material, but the reality is there's at least 3 or 4 teams that could set an argument for why they might be a favorite. But as I spoke to someone about it just the other day, and I was saying, look, while you can argue one way or the other for a couple of teams to win the district championship, the reality is the margin for error is so slim. It's kind of fun. So I'm excited about it. I know the girls are excited about it, and we get Alamo Heights is back in our district, and of course we lost to them in the regional finals, and it's always been a good rivalry between us, and they do a good job. They've got a new coach out there that she's done a great job with them, and so we're excited.
2015 state champion, Class 5A, as mentioned. You've got 4 other championships in your career. 10 times you've taken a team to the state tournament, and it seems like you made the culture at Dripping Springs to the point they expect to be at state every year.
Well, I appreciate that, and I mean that's the goal. That's the way I think. Again, I'm certainly not an arrogant person. I try to make sure that our kids know and expect that, and this is to be truthful. I believe every region has legitimately maybe 3 to 5 teams that are legitimately capable of winning the region and making it to the state tournament. And proudly, I believe Dripping Springs, when we first got there, when I first got there, rather, it was a good program. We built on it, and then the success that we've kind of been very blessed to have had has really generated a lot of excitement in the Dripping Springs area, and a lot of kids are playing volleyball. I talk to a lot of coaches, and they come and talk about our kids, and they're like, "Oh man, all these kids play," and they're playing from when they're little kids. I mean, Avery and I used to laugh about her remembering when she was in middle school, and the kids are driving around on the bus before we head to the state tournament. So, when you're blessed enough to have, and there's a few programs that are like that. When you're blessed enough to have that kind of success, it kind of feeds itself. And we've been really, really blessed with great kids, and we're gonna keep it going. But I'm very proud of the fact that I honestly believe that since we've gotten there, we've been one of the top 4 or 5 teams in the region, and always have a chance. And you got to show up. The best team doesn't always win. Whether it be and I've had some great teams lose, and but I know that we're always in the mix, and that's exciting.
So a couple curveballs thrown at you. One, you should have had first day of practice already, tryouts if necessary. That's obviously pushed back a month because of COVID.
Sure.
And number 2, obviously the whole pandemic thing has given coaches what I call a layer more of responsibility on top of the mountain that you already have on your shoulders. Talk about that. Talk about how you've adjusted, you and your family and loved ones, and then how it's trickled down to the volleyball in the community.
Sure. I mean, at the end of the day, we have a responsibility as coaches to put our kids in the best possible light that exists. On a personal side, I kind of err in the middle. It's not something that I feel like I'm going to fear. I'm going to make sure I take care of what I need to take care of and put myself in familiar circles and do all the protocol that needs to happen and to keep my family safe and keep myself safe. But I certainly don't want to hide from life. It's just not in my nature. I do know when we deal with kids, we have a responsibility to make sure that, they're just like my children. And I want to make sure I'm not endanger them at all. So we were fortunate enough to be one of the schools that had the opportunity to do some strength and conditioning over the summer. I know some schools have been on essentially lockdown or not been allowed to be on campus.
Right.
We were fortunate ones that were able to run some strength and conditioning over the course of the summer. And, we laid out a ton of protocol to make sure that it was as safe as an environment as you could be. Truthfully speaking, I've kind of been involved in both sides of the spectrum. Meaning I'm in a high school sector. I'm also in the club world, and I had responsibility in the club world. But it's kind of, the kids were certainly confused by life. You get to the high school, if they were able to get on campus, like at Dripping Springs, for example, we had massive amounts of protocol and distances, the number of kids that could be on the court. And it was different, and we explained to the kids, whatever we can take as a blessing, it's an inconvenience without question, but the inconvenience allows you the opportunity to play the game.
Right.
There was confusion for them because then you go to the club sector in the evening, so potentially, and there's no rules. It's just you play, and it's not to say that they don't. There's temperatures being taken, there's hands being washed, blah blah blah, but it's not as strict and as stringent as the UIL put on the kids. And I'm not arguing it. I think certainly rightfully so. So for us, those dry runs, if you will, as far as getting acclimated to, we call them inconveniences, and I relay to the kids that these are necessities in order to be able to play the sport that we love. Fortunately for me, or unfortunately, I have a son, which is fortunate. He was a senior this past year on the baseball team. And I watched him pitch the last game of the season. I kind of sensed something was real about to happen, and the buzz was going on about the COVID stuff, and teams were being pulled from the tournament that they were playing in. And I started to really resonate with me that this could be serious. And so as I watched my son pitch the game, and he's a senior, I realized this could be the last time. And it was. It wound up being the last time. So I'm glad I looked at that moment in reflection as the last possible time. But my point to tell you that is that had my son or the baseball coaches, or I guarantee you your softball coaches or your track coaches, been able to continue the season, had they gone through the inconveniences of washing your hands and wearing a mask or they would have done it in a heartbeat. So we need to understand that the inconveniences and the little loops and the hoops that we have to jump through in order to get on a court, while they might seem annoying and inconvenience, it's enabled you to do something that never take for granted. I know as a coach, I tell people this, we've had multiple conversations with different coaches. One thing that this COVID thing has reinvigorated with me is a realization how much I love coaching. I miss it so much. I cannot wait to be on, so yeah, we're itching. I knowing that there's small schools are getting to flow and go and they're ready. And I'm like sitting at home chomping at the bit. But I do know that it's made me real, continue to know that I love doing this. I've been doing it for 23 years. People always say, like, when are you going to be done? I'm like, I'm not even close. But it's not fun anymore. And I think this COVID thing has reignited or reflamed probably a lot of people and a lot of kids' excitement about it. And it's done different too. There's been some kids that have stepped away. I mean, I talked to a lot of coaches in a lot of programs where kids are stepping away from the game just because they got away from it. They got used to not having to go through the rigors of, I don't know that a lot of people understand the rigors, what these athletes go through as far as commitment and sacrifices regarding time. And, if you're a regular student, normally you're not anything different right now. You're used to not going to school until end of August. An athlete is end of July, 1st of August, and so and I'm referencing football, basketball, football, volleyball, track, or cross country kids, so their life is a month longer in the summer. So we sacrifice a lot. And I think a lot of these kids have decided that for some of them, it's not what they want to do. And for some, it's reignited them and been excited. We can't wait to get on the court. I know that's been me as a coach for sure.
Right. Well, you're one of the coaches, and that's what I admire about a lot of these coaches that tend to make deep runs in the playoffs get to state on a regular basis. You welcome, especially non-district, you welcome the great challenges, and you're at the great tournaments. What's it going to be like this year, not having those tournaments, and how's your schedule coming?
Wow, the no tournaments is going to be very awkward. Having been at a lot of these large tournaments and having won them or been in the gold brackets and been successful at all these the Pearlands and the Volleypaloozas and the Fraulein Fest, and these are great tournaments and they've got great teams, and it enables me to see teams that ordinarily I wouldn't be able to see. So it's a little bit sad that we don't get to experience that. On a personal side, I don't agree with it, but again, if I have to sacrifice that in order to still have a season,
right?
It doesn't matter to me if I need to wear a hazmat suit to get to have a season, I'll do it. But it will be different, and it's unfortunate that we don't get to have these tournaments. I understand it. Don't necessarily on the personal side, don't agree with it. Not anything towards UIL, but just in general. But it is what it is, and it's going to be different. It's going to change the complexity of how teams prepare for themselves. I mean, we had to adjust our district schedule as an example, as has everybody. We've had to take a look at what our schedule looked like, and with our numbers, we had 10 teams in our district. We were set up for the potential to not have any preseason games whatsoever. Literally to start Tuesday, boom, district, and in our district, it's Tuesday. Going Johnson, New Braunfels, Alma High. We come out of the gates, and then again in a situation for us, probably like a lot of people, you want to get these new kids and these kids that are replacing these graduating seniors a little acclimated to life. Right. They jump feet first into the fire, and it's going to be it's different. Fortunately, our district's found the value in trying to adjust some things, so we adjusted our district. We've got a few Saturday games. This enabled us to open up some non-district games at the beginning. Not a lot, but we've got Rouse on the schedule. We've got Westwood on the schedule. We've got Georgetown on the schedule. We've got Smithson Valley on the schedule. So, I went out and tried to, we tried to have Lake Travis on the schedule, unfortunately, because they're, again, while we might complain about certain things, you can look at some of these other programs that are having to put their stuff on pause. Right. Lake Travis being one of them. We had to cancel the game we had with them. So, I went out and tried to find the best teams that we could. I got really fortunate. The last one was Smithson Valley. I had a last-second opening with that. And I got Hayes on the schedule as preseason on a Saturday. So I was able to get some quality preseason games, which I'm excited about. It's a little jumbled up and a little bundled up, smaller time frame. But I felt it was necessary. And again, I'm not afraid to come out of a preseason not as winning as much as we would like to in order to prepare for the district. So I've been here before, and no big deal. So I'm at least fortunate that we're in a position at Dripping Springs based on our ability to do some working out that we get to start on time. Is kind of a new on time means September 7th. There's some schools that won't be able to start until September 14th still.
Right. Yeah. So. Yeah. Hey, last question before I let you go, and Max wanted to know too, who's the better athlete and golfer, you or your brother?
Without question, me. This is something I train for every day.
And of course, I'm talking about Thomas, his brother, who is also assistant coach.
Every day to be around my brother. He's is a head coach, honestly, and he's been an instrumental part of our success at Dripping Springs. And I'm certainly blessed that no one has stolen him away, because he's had a couple opportunities, and I think those schools should have taken him up on it. He's a great coach, and I'm lucky to have him. I look at my whole staff, and we have a lot of turnover rate across the state, and I've been able to have Jamie Groves does our JV and flex team, and Paige Sandahl. We've just got a great staff, and we've been together for a while. And like you said, Thomas, that's another head coach, really, and having that is a huge. I know some of these coaches across the state and no knock on their assistant coaches, but they just don't have the experience that a person like Thomas has. Thomas brings with him 20 years of head coaching experience and a tremendous amount of knowledge and success, and it's a benefit to the program. But I absolutely whip him on a golf course. There's no question about it.
All right, good deal. Max, got anything else? No? Okay. All right. I think we're good.
I think I bored him to sleep is what I put him to sleep.
Well, no sleeping from now until the start of volleyball. Looking forward to it.
we're looking forward to it. And again, Chuck, I appreciate everything that you do. Appreciate the attention you give these volleyball players in the community. And I know we all, as coaches, we all appreciate all the effort and energy you put into it. And I look forward to seeing you during the season.
Absolutely. And again, tip of the cap to Mr. Butchart, who really, he's been, you know, you talk about media coverage, that man has been there from day one.
Butch and I have known each other for every bit of the 23 years that I've been in the Central Texas area the entire time. And Butch has certainly been someone that's been there from through thick and thin, from the beginning to the end. And I wish powers above you all, including Butch, would see the benefit and give you guys a lot more attention that you deserve, quite honestly. And I'm talking referencing to his bosses. He can't say it, but I will. But, you know, the statesmen, they need to step up their game. They really do. But we appreciate the Butch Harts of the world, the Chuck Licatas. Honestly, you guys do a great job. And I'm not just saying that. There's a lot of coaches that feel it. And y'all's investment in these kids and getting it done and getting it done right is certainly something that's appreciated from the players, the parents, and the coaches. So thank you guys so much.
Well, thank you for that. And in that same vein, in total honesty and transparency, coaches like you and Jacob and Terry Wade and, you know, Sarah Falk and everybody that shares and makes time and gives us the info we need, you make our job that much easier.
For sure. Well, those are some great names you named, and just to be in the same breath as them, I'm a blessed person for sure.
All right, bud. I'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Talk to you soon.
Yep. So we'll continue on with our volleyball series. I am Chuck Licata, and of course with Max right here for Vite and Vite Live.